Hey, welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to make a deep dive into the Firebase Realtime Database. Firebase Realtime Database is a cloud-hosted NoSQL database that lets you store and sync data between your users in real time. What does that mean is basically that users that are subscribed to a database get notified in a matter of milliseconds after it gets updated. Another thing is that data is stored in a form of JSON instead of tables and rows like in the SQL model. That being said, let's get started. First off, we need to create a project on the Firebase console. As you can see, I have already reached the limit of projects number, so I'll use one of the projects that I have already created. Okay, now we need to go to the Database tab and hit Create Database. Let's access the real-time database in the drop-down. And here we go. As you can see now, we have a new empty database. The rules represent the most important part of the security of your database. Therefore, you have to be really careful typing the security rules and granting access to your app's users. Now go to Project Overview and create a new web app. Hit Register App and then Continue. We will use these lines of code once we create our project files. Okay, now that we created the project files, we need to copy the configuration code from the Firebase console and paste it at the end of the index.html file. Another important thing is to add the CDN link to the Firebase database. It's essential for Firebase to work. Let's add a click event to the Add button. Now, to access the Firebase functions, we need to create an instance of Firebase database. As I mentioned earlier, data in Firebase database is stored in JSON format, and to access each part of it we use references. A reference is basically the path to the JSON tree's nodes and keys, separated by a slash each time we go deeper in the tree. To add new data to the database, we need to use the set method. Set takes an object as parameter which represents the new data to add. It didn't work because I didn't have the permission to make changes to the database. To fix this, I need to make a change in the security rules so I can grant myself the access to write and read from the database. Let's try another time, and now it should work. And as you can see, the new data is instantly added. We can split the paths into variables and then use the child method to merge them again for more organization and readability. As you can see, I'm hard-coding the user's ID, so it's easier for me to make changes to the data later. Usually, you'd want the ID to be automatically generated, and to do that, you need to use the push method and the key property. That enough would generate a unique key to each new object that you create. Let's add the click event to the edit button. Now, to update data on the database, we should use the update method. The update method takes an object as parameter. This object contains the new data that we want to take place in a certain reference in the database. With the update method, we can also write multiple values to the database at once. So, first we need an object with the new data, then another one that contains the different references to where we want to write the new values. As you can see now, I added an object with 2 as key to the user's object and added the same object to a new reference which is the super user's object. Now, let's prepare the delete button. To remove a value from the database is pretty simple. We just call the remove method on the reference to that value. Keep in mind that with this method, we can remove a simple key in its value or a complete node. Another thing to mention is that we can use promises to notify the user if the remove operation went correctly or not. To read data, we need to attach listeners to a reference or multiple references in the database. To do that, we can use the on method. Then we can set different events to listen to. Let's start with the child added event, which will trigger the callback function whenever a node or a key in value are added to the reference. Child removed will trigger the callback function whenever a child gets removed from the reference. Child changed will trigger the callback function whenever an update occurs to the reference. And finally, value, which will do the same of the all already mentioned events, plus another event called child moved. The on method will keep listening to the event and trigger the callback function whenever it occurs. However, there is the once method, which, as its name suggests, will listen to an event only one time and trigger the callback function. Just to make sure that we can add listeners to just a part of the database, not the whole database. Snapshot, which is the parameter of the callback function, stores information of the data added or modified. So, for instance, if you want to get the newly added data's value, you can use val. The queries in Firebase Realtime Database are pretty much simple. A query is composed of a reference, an ordering function, and a querying function. The first ordering function is order by key, which will order the results by their keys. As you can see for now, order by key is returning the same values in the same order. Let's use a querying function now. limitToFirst2 will return an object that contains only the two first results of the ordering query. limiToLast2 will return an object that contains the two last results of the ordering query. The second ordering function is order by child, which is the same as the where in select from query in SQL, except that it sorts the result first based on the value of a certain key. limitToFirst2 will give us the two youngest users since it's an ascending sort, which means the first two results have the lowest values. limiToLast is the reverse of the previous query. Equal to returns a result that is exactly the same as provided as parameter, so it either returns a result if the first name is Michael in our case, or just nothing. startAt is another querying function which will return any object that its last name value starts with the letter Y. Finally, there's the order by value ordering function which works on the values of parameters of the same object. This should be enough to get you going with Firebase Realtime Database. Make sure to take a look at the documentation for more advanced stuff, link in the description. That said, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification for more tutorials like this, and see you in the next one.